What is going on, everyone? This is Eric coming at you from just outside of Hartford, Connecticut. And today we are going to have the first part of our four-part mini-series looking back at the 2021 NHL season. We're going to look at the final standings, how each team did, and I'm going to go into a little detail about each team, if they had any, overachievers or major underachievers. So, without further ado, we'll start off with the Central Division. And this division was won by the Carolina Hurricanes. Now, the Hurricanes had an impressive 36-12-8 record, which amounted them 80 points. So, as a whole, Carolina, they did pretty good. They finished third in the President's Trophy standings. Now, they had a very strong year, more than holding their own in a top-heavy Central Division. Now, the Hurricanes, they got elite production from their blue line, as they allowed 136 goals, which was tied for the fourth fewest in the league. Not bad, considering their somewhat shaky goaltending and playing Tampa Bay, Florida, and Dallas. Those are some of the more better offensive teams. Now, the team played very well at home, and they were pretty good on the road. Now, Sebastian Aho, he continued to be a leader for the team, and he was a strong offensive presence for them as well. He led the team in all three scoring categories, with 24 goals, 33 assists, and 57 points. On the flip side, Teuvo Teravainen had a rough season. He struggled to play due to various different injuries, and he ended the year with only 15 points across 21 games. Now, Dougie Hamilton easily led the blue line in scoring, while the rest of the defense focused more on lockdown defense than offensive production. Now, a goaltender who stood out for them was Alex Nedeljkovic. Now, Nedeljkovic, he shined with a 1.9 goals against average and a .932 save percentage. So, he really looks like he's proven that he can be the goaltender of the future. Now, the big thing with him is he is a restricted free agent after the season, so it's going to be interesting to see what Carolina does with him. But still, he looks like he will be the goalie of the future. James Reimer, the backup, he was solid. He wasn't amazing, but he was solid. Now, Carolina they would knock out the Predators in the first round of the playoffs, 4-2, before falling to Tampa Bay in the, Central Finals. Now, Jacob Slavin would end up winning the Lady Byng Award for a trophy for what he did as a player on and off the ice, and Rod Brindamore won Coach of the Year, and after this, he was rewarded with a new contract extension. Now, this was a strong overall season for Carolina, and they proved me somewhat wrong. I looked back at the old video, the predictions, and I said Carolina has a strong offense and an iffy defense. They showed that I was wrong. They had a good defense, and Nedeljkovic, like I said before, he looks like he will be the goalie of the future. That was a big red flag for Carolina. Now it looks like they have it fixed. Next, we have the Florida Panthers, who finished 37-14-5, 79 points. So, pretty solid season for them. So the Panthers, they had a strong season. The team had a top 5 scoring offense, and they got a lot of production from all around. They didn't have one true standout. Now, Jonathan Huberdeau, he did lead the team in scoring with 61 points, and Alexander Barkov was right behind him with 58. Now, Barkov, he finally stood out and finally got himself a Frank Selke Award due to his defense. Now, free agent signing Anthony Duclair, who in the last video I discussed that he could be a potential, huge steal as a free agent. He didn't produce all that well. He only had 32 points for the team, so it wasn't great, but he was still solid. Now, Sam Bennett proved to be a great deadline acquisition for the team, as he provided 15 points in only 10 regular season games for the team. Now, one big problem for them was when Aaron Ekblad went down with a fractured leg in late March. That hurt the team, and they were kind of struggling to replace his production from then on. Sergei Bobrovsky, he did not have a great year, but Chris Driedger stood up, and he proved that he could be a capable goaltender at the NHL, and rookie Spencer Knight, he looked very good in the 4 games that he appeared in. Now, they played Tampa Bay to 6 games in the first round, but they would fall to the Lightning. Not a bad season for them. Next, we have the Tampa Bay Lightning, who went 36-17-3. Which was good for 75 points. Now, they had a strong regular season, despite the fact that Nikita Kucherov did not play for them at all in the regular season. Steven Stamkos also missed a chunk of the season due to an injury of his own. Now, Tampa Bay, they played well on both sides of the puck, finishing top 10 in both goals for and against. so top 10 offense and defense. Now, Braden Point led the team in scoring, while Victor Hedman provided more offensive production from the blue line and proved that he was a top defenseman in the league once more. So, Andrei Vasilevsky, he had a strong year in goal, ending the year with a .925 save percentage. Now, Tampa Bay, they continued their strong push in their bid for a repeat by repeating as champions. So, they took out the Florida Panthers in the first round, then they knocked out the Hurricanes, then the Islanders played them to 7, but they still got past the Islanders before taking care of the Canadiens in the Stanley Cup Final 4-1. Now, of course, they did get Kucherov and Stamkos back in time for the playoffs, and of course, they were $18 million over the cap at the time of the playoffs, so say what you will about that, but they still played very well, and Kucherov really was the one who stood out. He provided 32 points over 23 games in the playoffs. Now, Vasilevsky's elite goaltending in the playoffs, which saw him record a .937 save percentage and a 1.90 goals against average, saw him win the Conn Smythe Award. All in all, this season went about as well as Tampa Bay could have hoped for. You know, they may not have had the elite regular season, but the fact is they won. They got their Stanley Cup, their second Stanley Cup. So, next we have the Nashville Predators, who snuck into the playoffs as the 4 seed from the Central. They went 31-23-2, which was good for 64 points. Now, Nashville, they did about as expected. They finished as a top 10 team defensively, but they were a slightly below average team offensively. Roman Josi led the team in scoring with 33 points. Yikes. Philip Forsberg, he did provide 32 points, but he missed about a month due to an upper body injury. He was productive, though, when he was on the ice. Now, a big disappointment for them was Matt Duchene, who only managed to provide 13 points across 34 games. Now, their goaltender Saros had a strong season, and he clearly looks like the goaltender of the future for Nashville. And while Pekka Rinne was still productive, he did not play as well as he had in the past and had a save percentage south of .900. So, in the playoffs, the Nashville Predators, they did a little better. A lot of people had them getting swept by Carolina, but they at least forced them to a Game 6, so can't go wrong with that. During the playoffs, Mikael Granlund led the team in points with 5, and Saros, he started every single game in goal for them. Now, after the season was over, Pekka Rinne won the King Clancy Award for his humanitarian contributions. So, even though he didn't do much on the ice, he at least was a good, person in the community. So now we get to the 4 teams that missed the playoffs, and the first one is probably one of the biggest disappointments in the league, the Dallas Stars. Now, they went 23, 19, and 14, a league-leading 14 overtime shootout losses, which was good for 60 points. Now, Dallas, they just had a rough season. They were a mediocre team offensively, but they did have a good defensive season, ending as a top 10 team. Before the year began, the team had to rule out goaltender Ben Bishop for the season. And Tyler Seguin was, recovering from a hip surgery that he had undergone. He would only appear in 3 games for the team, but he did make them count by scoring 2 goals in those 3 games. Alexander Radulov also dealt with various injuries before being shut down in late March, having only appeared in 11 games. Lastly, Roope Hintz underwent season-ending surgery in mid-May. He had been one of the team's most productive players. Now, Joe Pavelski led the team in scoring with 51 points. Anton Khudobin and Jake Oettinger, they split goaltending duties for the team, with the latter putting up slightly better numbers. It's going to be interesting to see what they do with the expansion draft looming. They could try to claim Bishop has a potential career-ending injury, so they can not have to exempt him. It's going to be interesting to see what they can do. Next, we have the Chicago Blackhawks, who went 24, 25, and 7, which was good for 55 points. Now, the Blackhawks, they had a mediocre season. They finished as an average offense and a bottom 10 defense, which was probably expected for them. Jonathan Toews and Alex Nylander both missed the entire season due to injuries. Without them, Patrick Kane, with 66 points, easily led the team in points. Alex DeBrincat had 56 points, and Dominic Kubalik had 38 points. They each took some steps forward in their development, DeBrincat more so. Now, Malcolm Subban entered the year as a starting goalie, but he was quickly replaced by rookie Kevin Lankinen, who had a decent season, much better than Subban did. So Chicago has some good young pieces, but they still have a lot of older veterans who it's going to be interesting to see what they can do. So Chicago, you're still kind of competing, but you're not. Then we have the Detroit Red Wings, who finished 19, 27, and 10, which was good for 48 points. Now, the fact that Detroit did not finish last in their division is a little bit of a surprise. Now, Detroit, they had the league's second worst offense, and they just missed out on having a bottom 10 defense. They had the 11th worst defense. Now, Detroit, they dealt with injuries this year, as Tyler Bertuzzi in February, Bobby Ryan in late March, Dylan Larkin in mid-April, and Franz Nielsen in late April all ended the year on the IR, and those are all key contributors for this team. Philip Hronik had 26 points, and he led the team in points. Yeah, he averaged less than a point per game, and he led the team in points. That should tell you about Detroit's offense right there. So Larkin, he did finish the season with 23 points, and that's respectable. And Bertuzzi had 7 points through 9 games, so again, that's respectable. Now, Jonathan Bernier and Thomas Greiss and Calvin Pickard, they were all mediocre at best as goalies, so yeah, Greiss was probably the biggest disappointment and one of the bigger disappointments as a free agent signing. So, and lastly, we have the Columbus Blue Jackets, who won 18, 26, and 12, which was good for 48 points, just like Detroit, except they had one less, regulation win. So, yeah, Columbus, they had a rough year. They were actually fighting for a playoff spot in early April before they fell apart. Now, they tried their luck with some trades before and during the season. Now, before the year, they acquired Max Domi. Domi only managed to provide them 24 points across 54 games. Now, they would deal away disgruntled forward Pierre-Luc Dubois for Patrick Laine, and Laine didn't do well. He only provided 21 points in 45 games, and he was actually benched at a point for disciplinary reasons. Now, Laine's lack of defensive skills also hurt this team. On the bright side, though, in the Laine trade, they did also receive Jack Roslovic. And Roslovic, he ended the year second on the team in points with 34, which was tied for Cam Atkinson. Oliver Bjorkstrand ended up leading the team in points with 44. Now, Jonas Korpisalo with 31 and Elvis Merzlikins with 23 basically split goaltending appearances for the team. Now, of course, tragically, Mathis Kivlesniks. He started the last 2 games of the season, and he passed away from a fireworks accident on the 4th of July. So that was, of course, a very sad moment. Now, after the season ended, John Tortorella was basically, his contract was up, and he and Columbus decided to mutually part ways. So it was the polite way of saying he got fired. They would promote assistant coach Brad Larson to the role of that head coach. So in case you're wondering, how did I have the division looking all said and done? I had Carolina winning the division, Dallas finishing second, Florida finishing third, and Tampa finishing fourth. Keep in mind, I may have overestimated the impact that Kucherov would have, but I mean, they got third instead of fourth. It's not like they ran away with this division. I had Columbus finishing fifth, Chicago sixth, Detroit seventh, and Nashville eighth. So I really was wrong with Nashville. They proved me wrong. I had them as eighth. They finished fourth. So congratulations to them. Columbus, I had them, as 5. They finished in last. So Dallas was a team I kind of bought some hype on, and I had them going second. They finished 5th. All in all, solid division. Of course, the Stanley Cup winning Tampa Bay Lightning are in this division, so you have to give them credit. Again, I hope you guys enjoyed this video. Have a good rest of your day.